The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Michael Guerin is back in the house. Hi to you, mate. Great to have you part of the review and preview that we're going to be doing today, because Alexandra Park last Friday night on the track was about as good as it gets.
Yeah, g'day Greg, big hi to you and all our friends watching around New Zealand, and of course those watching further afield. You're right, there is a preview component to this because we have this return to Saturday afternoon / twilight at Addington. But the preview, Greg, also extends a few weeks more. I think everybody in harness racing here and plenty of our friends in Australia are already thinking about the Night of Champions and the race by Grins, which is now finalised, more or less, and the TAB Trot. So last Friday was really good, and I thought we saw a couple of extremely good age group horses. We saw a definitive lead-up performance to the race by Grins, and we've seen some shuffling in there since. And then there's the intrigue around this Saturday afternoon meeting, Greg, which I must admit kind of caught me by surprise. I was expecting this to be a nighttime meeting. Instead, it's on Saturday afternoon where it used to be. You and Whale will be on track. It'll be on trackside too, so it'll get plenty of coverage. When did that decision get made? Because I'm not sure many people in the industry knew it was going back to its original date, Greg.
When the dates came out, I suppose, and you're right, for most people, they haven't seen it coming. So it's here, and we will have a good look at it as we roll through the show. So what is on Your Box Seat this week? Cold Chisel, yep, he took out the Derby. All You Need Is Me continued the family tradition by winning the Oaks. The All-Stars dominated the City of Auckland free-for-all. There was a first-time winner a wee while ago. I got to catch up with him the other day at Addington, and a bloke who drove his 500th winner. We'll preview the big day at Addington on Easter Saturday. A whole lot of videos there from our good friend Glenn Bourne. He loves a good video. And our competition winner. Yes, we have done the draw under police scrutiny. Well, not quite, but Brian Rabbit and the team at Addington watch me do it. So if you have any queries there, you can check it out with them, and we'll announce who that is and who is heading to the Night of Champions. But it is a superstars race. It is the Woodland Northern Derby, Woodlands that is, and it was won by Cold Chisel. Here's the all-important start. On the back end of this, we'll hear from the connections, but Cold Chisel being able to hold, we walk by faith early, Michael. Mark Purdon got himself into the trail, got himself into a bit of trouble later on. So that was the important start, but here is the crucial part to the race where Zachary Butcher decided to hand up.
Well, more or less exactly the same thing happened in exactly the same race last year. Zach led last year in the Derby on Merlin, then handed up to Tony Hurley when he came rushing up on what was Son of Mac last year. So he's done the same thing here, Hurley, and Zach again has handed up. And I can't remember in my time in harness racing a driver who's handed up the lead on favoured runners more regularly at Group 1 level than Zach Butcher and got away with it, because he times runs like this so well.
Christopher Dance, Cold Chisel, wearing away at Christopher Dance, Cold Chisel lunges, Cold Chisel gets the Derby of 2024 over a very game Christopher Dance.
Scott, congratulations to you and Barry. 3 derbies domestically on the bounce. Pretty satisfying, I'm picking.
Yeah, 100% it is. It's they're definitely not easy to win, so you need the right horses, and we're lucky enough to have the right horses.
Yeah, well, you got the right one in Cold Chisel, you got the right barrier draw, and you got the right run, although it was pretty tight in the end.
Yeah, it was, and we got the right barrier right, and it does go a long way. So it definitely helped out in the end, and it did get a little bit tight, from not that I could see from where I was, but he got the job done anyway.
All right, obviously Merlin won both derbies last year. Different type of horse this, and speaking to Zach on radio around his real strength, and it is his speed. I know he can stay a bit, but he drove him to his strengths by handing up to Christopher Dance and following a helmet, and that seems to be his best modus at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. He's got plenty of speed, but look, he's probably a bit I think he's a pretty good stayer as well. And if he did happen to stay, if he got left in front in one of those runs, I think he'd be just as good a chance.
Okay, so that was obviously the number one goal at this stage of the season. What happens with him now?
Look, he'll go to the size stakes in Christchurch, and then he'll have a good 6 to 8 week break after that, and hopefully come back at the end of the year.
Jeremiah, what did you make of his performance?
Look, I thought it was a solid run. I know he had cover 3 wide, but in them fields, you've got to sort of be better than the rest of them to be covering that ground. So at this stage, he's not, but he's definitely a horse for the future.
Mark, it was a brilliant drive. We walked by Faith, squeezed into the trail, and that got him a placing.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I was wrapped with him. He was sort of taking a little bit of ground off the front too up the lane. But yeah, maybe if Zach had stayed in front, he might have gone close. But yeah.
That's racing, is it, my friend? What do you do with him now?
We'll probably keep him up here and take on a couple of size stakes heats up here in the north while we're still here.
Mate, just on how Dreams Are Free pulled up after the race, I know he was 3 wide and he was right there at the quarter. How did you think he performed?
Oh, he performed well. Look, yeah, just was pretty tough. He sort of tried to sort of come out, and then we ended up sort of shuffled back to the rear and made a run 3 wide sort of on our own, and then a couple popped in front of him. He went a wee bit rough at the 1400, probably lost, my spot where I would have been up, sort of, would have perhaps reached the death seat and could have made a bit of a difference. But he was brave. He tried his best. He's learned a bit on the trip, and I'm sure he'll be a better horse from it.
He's put up okay, and from here, is it back south and heading towards the Supremacy?
That's right, yeah. He'll plan on going to the Supremacy now. Yeah, so we'll just take him home for that, and then he's obviously got the size stakes at Addington as well. So yeah, we'll have another couple of cracks, and really looking forward to the spring. He's a lovely big horse, and I think what we do this time will only be better for.
So a big thank you to our friends from the TAB there, Craig Thompson getting those aftermath interviews for us. Michael, a bit to unpack here. Let's start with the winner. He was too good. Excellent Christopher Dance. We walked by Faith, mentioned before. Mark Purdon getting into trouble. He got 4 days because when he came out, he collected a couple of his stablemates, actually, Major Hot, and that went on to Chase a Dream. Complete forgive for him. He was taken out of place. Not that he could have won the race anyway, but it basically meant that you have to rule a line there. There was a few other good runs. Little Spike. Did you see him get home down the outside for a horse that's had, a handful of starts now?
Yeah, great run by him. Really promising horse, as was the second horse, probably the run of the race. But Cold Chisel's just a real professional. He reminds me, not with the class, but the racing style of Christopher Vance way back in 1991. I think he contested the Derby in 1990 and won it. And that's that gate speed, manners, can go wide, can stay in front, can sit in the trail and come back to the driver. There's so many different ways he can win races. He's a wonderful horse. I'm not sure he has the absolute high-end class of Merlin, who's a horse he's going to be compared to because he's owned, trained and driven by the same people. But I think he's going to have a lot of fun. And who knows, I think Merlin improved a lot in the last 12 months. Who knows how far Cold Chisel could improve. Christopher Dance is a good horse, no doubt about that. He's an open class horse in waiting. Again, Logan Hollis and Shane Robertson able to pay $8,000 for a horse and get a proper horse. I think it was either them or Chris Webber, one or the other paid it. Either way, it's a good find. Third horse was good, often as they are, marker pegs for a derby. So the fourth horse, as you mentioned, was really good. Not sure what we make of Chase a Dream because he was so good winning the size stakes back on New Zealand Cup Day. And when he first came to Alexandra Park, he's been okay since. And I know you're talking about wanting to forgive because he got checked, but as you also mentioned, he wasn't going to win. So, yeah, I think he might, a chance to catch his breath and have an easy, confidence-boosting kill might be good for him. But Greg, when I left on Friday night, left Alexandra Park and I was driving home, the horse who stuck in my mind out of the Derby was Dreams Are Free. Yep. I think he's the best horse in this crop. I don't think he's the most professional. I'm not saying he's going to win the most races because Cold Chisel might just put himself in enough positions to win all the races that Merlin won. But I think he's got the biggest motor. And Chase a Dream's got a really big motor too. But that was a typical, I've come to Alexandra Park for the first time, I've got stuck 3 wide. I know he won there last week, but I'm talking about trying to do something different in a major race. back to last, it was just a total mess. It wasn't Nathan's fault. I reckon if you looked under their hoods, Greg, he might have more CCs under his hood than the rest of them. And I think, in my mind, if I had New Zealand Derby market there, which is a hell of a long way away, he'd be favourite for it.
Yep, I agree with you. He's got a big, big motor, and we saw that as a part of the Aces races at Addington when he was, that was back in December, only having his about 4th start. I thought Vessem was very good too. Outside second row, he had no chance. He's made up some good ground. He's just had a luckless Northern campaign. So, Michael, they go through sire stakes heats both in the north and the south, and the final at Addington for the 3-year-olds on the 10th of May. So then they'll be able to be put aside, built back up again, and obviously get set for the Flying Stakes, which is a Group 1 in October, into the Derby in December. So still a fair bit ahead for these 3-year-olds, and still some people getting their heads around exactly where these races are at. Let's continue the conversation about 3-year-olds. The Oaks with Pascoe's the Jewelers. They've been long-time supporters of this race. Terrific performance from a horse just having start number 7. All You Need Is Me, doing what her mother did, of course, Adore Me, in front. Carter Del Getty, 100 wins in his career, and his first Group 1 at Alexandra Park.
Coming strongly, All You Need Is Me, Carter Del Getty. What a way to bring up 100 driving successes with a Pascoe's the Jewelers, Northern Oaks over Flying Alley.
You've always said she's a wonderful filly, and tonight she proved it.
Yeah, so when you go on these races with a pretty good horse, it's sort of, when you do win, it's a relief just as much as a thrill, really. But it was a real thrill, and it was interesting story, with the mum winning a race and then my dad owning the grandmother that won the race. So we done the full circle.
Absolutely. I mean, you've had some very good fillies in your time. Where does she rate at the moment?
Well, tonight the best. Well, yeah, I've been fortunate enough, but she's very good, and she can get better too. That's the exciting thing about her.
Absolutely, lightly raced, 7 starts, 6 wins. There's so much in front of her. So what do you do with her now?
We're sort of floating some ideas. If we say if she may jump the Tasman to Sydney, but it's still sort of some thinking to do about it. Yeah, but it would be an opportunity.
What about that son of yours? I tell you what, all that driving fees he can put into the hair product, it's looking good, and he's obviously enjoying being on track. So because that's 3 from 3, you must be mighty proud of the way your son's performing.
Yeah, so our only issue tonight was we just kept having Don Bradman in our head while being on the 99, and so sometimes in sport, you can sit on those just short of the milestones a long time, but it was a great race to go out on, actually.
Gee, she nearly pulled it off, Flying Alley. That was a hell of a run.
Yeah, she went great. Look, she's an honest wee campaigner in the 2700 suited, but it was definitely obviously draw and marker pegs sort of helped her into the finish, but thrilled with her, yeah.
Absolutely, driven her for a speed, and Craig got up the inside there, and I think briefly probably thought he was going to win it.
Yeah, he said he was, he sort of for a moment there, he sort of thought he might have, upset the apple cart, but look, she's gone a great race nonetheless, and absolutely thrilled with her.
Update on Ruby Rowe, how did she perform?
I was a little bit disappointed, left without cover. I mean, I had to commit to come without cover there about the mile, and look, just wasn't her night tonight. Maybe the run in the slush last week, probably not as seasoned as some of these fillies. Maybe that just took its toll tonight, but we'll freshen her for the Southern Oaks. She'll bounce back.
It's got to say, so those 2 fillies will head back down south for the big ones?
Yeah, they're both in the Southern Oaks, so looks a nice target for them.
Scotty, you may have had the barrier draw in the Derby, but it certainly cost you a winning chance anyway in the Oaks.
Yeah, look, it did, but hey, the best filly on the day won it, that's for sure, and we're definitely proud of our filly. She put in a great effort in to finish it off to run 3rd.
What's the plan with her now? What are you guys thinking, you and Barry, in terms of where she goes next, and what's her progress throughout her 3-year-old campaign?
She heads to the Size Stakes, which is up here at Auckland in early May. From there, a trip to Queensland ain't out of the question, but she'll definitely have to be at the top of her game up to the Size Stakes to even think about or even contemplate a trip over there.
How good is she, Michael? This All You Need Is Me. She's got all of the credentials. Her father is doing an amazing job, Captain Treacherous. We know what her mother did, so how deep can she go?
Really hard to tell, isn't it? Because the improvement curve has been so steep, but also so increasing. It just keeps going up. Look, there's no sign of it stopping. I think because being a captain T, Carter had to burn her up a little bit early. She got a little bit urgent in some of her stride patterns in that early stage of the race, and she was after it. She wanted to get going. So I think she could have won by more had she settled better, but she's still learning. And very rarely do horses come to Alexandra Park, Greg, of that age and win 3 features, including a Group 1, having never been there before. So huge compliment to Cran and to Chrissy and to Carter. Where could she end up? You would think she's the best of this crop with that improvement, that Adore Me showed through her 3-year-old season, potentially coming up. Still a long way to go to be Adore Me. Adore Me ran second in a derby after winning the Oaks, and a very good derby in her year, but she's very good and very valuable. There's a big gap now to the next of the Group 1s for the fillies, probably too big a gap. I'm still not sure we've got either the boys or the girls' 3-year-old calendars right. It all seems a bit messy. I'm not sure what I want it to look like, but I'm not sure it looks right at the moment. I think there's another very good horse in that race. I think Duchess Meg's it's a very good horse and a very fast horse, and I think she's still learning, and we'll see where her improvement curve ends up. So we're going to end up with a really nice nationwide battle, because Nathan's 2 3-year-olds are good as well. So they'll probably go their separate ways a little bit at the moment, and then I can see them all getting together at the end of the season, because I'm not sure Nathan will bring his ones back for, I think it's the Sires Stakes, or I think it's the Sires Stakes in May. So I think by the time we get to the Oaks at Addington in December, we're going to have a hell of a bunch of 3-year-olds, Greg. And particularly because I think Duchess Meg's it and the winner still have quite a way to go, and probably Ruby Rowe does as well, that they could be really serious horses by then. Then the question horse is Coastal Babe. That wasn't as good as work, and it hasn't been as good a work from her this campaign as it was last campaign. I'm not sure she's going to be as good a stayer as she's going to be a short course horse, but she may not have to be. There's not that many 2,700 metre, 2,600 metre fillies and mares races around. So I think the interrupted preparation didn't help her much either, Greg. So if I was going to rank them, I would say the winner, the best, Duchess Meg's at second, no disrespect to the horse who actually did finish second, and a really nice even clump behind them, Greg, but very much the horses who were starring as 2-year-olds 6 months ago are now playing catch up to the horses who weren't.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I'm looking forward to seeing if Duchess Meg's it does head across the Tasman to Queensland, because if she does, I reckon she'd take a power of beating. She's got that long stride. Yep, really a lot to like about her, and Crandall Giddy's in a very good position to be judging fillies, Michael, with Sparks of Flying, Safedra,
You're talking, Greg, about that Queensland Carnival, which you'll be heading to. Nominations, I know they're only nominations, and I'm not expecting them all to go, but of course 2 of these horses are owned by Dean Shannon, so he may well want them to go to Queensland. But Merlin and Sooner the Better have accepted invitations to the Rising Sun. I think it's very loose. I don't want to be backing them just yet, but they've accepted invitations.
Yep. Well, he was keen last year with Merlin, wasn't he, to go to the Derby? Yep.
And Cold Chisel could potentially go there. So if you end up with those 3 horses, maybe Duchess Meg's heading to that carnival, it's going to really lift that carnival from a Kiwi point of view.
Definitely.
Because I think the carnival's really good, and Leap to Fame will be there, so I doubt you'll get many open class horses wanting to take him on. But I do think that winter harness racing here gets pretty droll, and having another focus for our side of the Tasman over there with real New Zealand names gives us something to hang our hat on during the winter. So I do hope there's a decent representation there.
Yep, I do too, and I think there will be this year, especially with those sort of names of horses sounding like they're pretty keen. Auckland Co-op Taxis was the free-for-all, of course, and this has always been an excellent race. Here is Kango in front. He battles on really solidly, but Don't Stop Dreaming has arrived in free-for-all company. He did a great job in Australia. He looks like he's an improved horse, and he beats a former Race by Grins winner in Self Assured. Let's get Aaron as they hit the line.
Don't Stop Dreaming, quite effortless in the end for Natalie. Second over was Self Assured. Old Town Road rushes home. May have got Kango for third.
Mark, it's great to have him back from Aussie, and it was a slowly run race, but he settled outside the leader beautifully, and when Natalie asked him to run, he really ran.
Yes, yeah, we sort of worked it out before the race that that's probably what would happen, and yeah, he was nice outside them and didn't take too much out of himself, but just had a really good turn of foot when she asked for it.
Self-assured, good to have him back. Nice run in the trail. He sprinted up the lane really nicely.
He did, you know, he just needs that little bit of luck now. He's just, you know, he's an eight-year-old now, and you know, he probably lost that little bit of speed that he had, but given a run like that, and he's still competitive.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what they do from here. Mile. The week before Grins, is that where we're going?
That's where we're going next, Craig, yes.
John, I reckon there'll be a decent smile on your face the way he's powered through the line late. Great run up the inside.
Yeah, for sure, Craig. That's how I wanted it, to be honest. He hasn't had the rough and tumble racing to be able to stay out there and do it like Mark's horse, but no, it was really good, and Joshua was just elated going. He said past the post, he was just flying, felt like the old horse.
What we noticed is he through the line and round the back straight, he just kept running. So great sign going forward with a big race in 3 weeks' time.
For sure. But I said to you before, Craig, he has to be driven like that. I'm not sure that come Grins night how or where, what sort of draw we're going to get, how we're going to drive him. But I know that's his biggest weapon, and at this stage we're going to stick to it.
He's got back on a pretty slow tempo, and I thought he powered through the line pretty well.
Yes, he did. It's hard to say, he went very good when run midfield, but as the race unfolded, Blair was in a position where it was his first start back since New Zealand Cup Day. He probably didn't need to sort of circle him, but he did actually get through the line very good, even though he's only a mid-race finisher.
What do you do with him now? I mean, he hasn't got a slot. There's one up for grabs still, but what do you do if you don't get a slot? What's available for him?
Well, we might have a go at the Taylor Mile and the Messenger up here while he's in town here, and maybe the Auckland Cup later. So sure, we'd love to be in the slot. Who wouldn't be? But it might be a blessing he's not in there because he's not sort of race hardened right now. But if something silly happened and he fell in on a ballot or something, we'd have a go.
He's a pretty good horse, Republican Party. He probably needs, Michael, top 2 finish, I would have thought, to force his way probably onto the ballot for the race by Grins. But we'll get to speak the truth in a moment because he won at Albion Park the other night. But here's the interesting thing. The slot holders still have up until the Sunday before the race by Grins to change out their slot. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to do that, but a performance in the Flying Mile on the Thursday night that is a dominant one could see a change there, which is just another twist as we build towards this great race.
Talking about the Flying Mile on the Thursday night, both the trotters and the pacers are starting to look maybe a lot stronger than we thought. Rock and Roll Do's likely to head there. Merlin, Sooner the Better, are going to head there. Don't Stop Dreaming's going to head there. A lot of those horses are going to head there knowing that they're in the race by Grins. Republican Party would head there knowing he's not. Now, he goes out and gives them a bleeding nose there, and he's got a very good mile record. And somebody underperforms. They get a virus, they get a hoof, all the things that happen to horses. And we had that happen in the first year for the race by Grins. Then he's the horse I would want on my next slot of the horses who are still available, because I doubt you can chuck a horse on the plane from Australia like I can't find a better man at the last minute. I doubt that would probably happen, although not impossible. So that meeting on the Thursday, so it's 8 days out, actually has some really important roles to play, not only in the market, but in the potential for reshuffling. Say, for example, you have a Self-Assured or a Mark Shard or an older horse like that and they underperform, it'd be really easy to change them out. The irony of that conversation is, I'm not sure there's a more surprising horse in the country at the moment, Greg, than Mark Shard. He is absolutely flying, and he was unlucky the other day and was really good to the line there. He's a horse who I thought might come back and have a retirement circuit type career, but no, he's absolutely flying. Old Town Road was good, but the winner was so good, Greg, I can't make a case to back any of those horses to beat him April 12 if the draws are neutral, unless he draws the second line. And that's what we've got to with the race by Grins now, is we have no leap to fame. So with him not there and Akuta obviously injured, we have a very even bunch of horses. And some people like a superstar in their races. We don't have one. But we do have horses like Speak the Truth. Here he is at Albion Park last week. This is him in front and he's winning. So you say to yourself, is there much between Speak the Truth, Don't Stop Dreaming, who, talking to Mark, he said he didn't enjoy the heat in Sydney. He's happier back in Auckland, where it's colder. Is there much between these horses and Better Eclipse or Merlin? And I think the barrier draw is going to be absolutely crucial, Greg, because if Don't Stop Dreaming's on the outside of the second line, or even barrier 7 or 8, in my mind he's $4, $4.50, $5. If Merlin's 2, or if Speak the Truth's 2. And vice versa, you put Don't Stop Dreaming into barrier 2 with a horse who may hand up inside him, then he might end up being $1.80. So it's a really wild spectrum of what could happen to that market, because with No Leap to Fame or a Cooter or horse who could be drawn the second line but still win sitting parked, I legitimately think most of the horses in the race can win, Greg. I'm not saying Mark Shard can't. I know that sounds completely ridiculous because he's almost as old as me. But he's absolutely flying, and he might be the outsider of the race, with, of course, the news coming in today that South Coast Addington is coming back, which will surprise some people. But he was very good in the race by Grins 2 years ago, and, of course, his signature performance of his New Zealand career was smashing them into jewels here, and Big Phillip to Matthew White, who's going to be his trainer and, I presume, driver for that race. So I think it's a really complex puzzle and a really good puzzle, and in some ways I'm looking forward to the race more without Leap to Fame there, because there'll be more levels of intrigue.
Yeah, they definitely will. And I spoke to the Connections. The Kennards are a part owner, of course, South Coast Addington. So what was your mindset there? And they just felt the form that he's in. He finished third in the Cordina sprint behind Speak the Truth and went very good. And he was unlucky in the light horse. So they thought, why not? We own the horse, so we don't have to come up with any sort of a deal. And we were probably going to bring him home anyway. So that's what they've gone with.
Who do you think is the horse to beat? Because obviously we don't know the draws, but I think it's 8 and 2. I'm sure it's 8 and 2. So therefore, you're 80% likely to draw the front line.
I think the favourite, and as we look at the market, he's now into $2.20. Merlin's $4.50. That's Don't Stop Dreaming, of course. $4.50 Merlin, $5 for Speak the Truth, and then you're out to $11 for Better Eclipse, Rock and Roll Do, Sooner the Better. Old Town Road was excellent the other night, Michael, and I think he's building nicely, but he's going to need to get the right sort of run like he did last year behind Copy That. And you're right, the outsider of the field is Mark Shard at $26. So
I tell you what it is, Greg, which is very unusual for this grade of horse. It's not a fast front line.
No.
Like when you go through them, you don't go, well, it'll just lead if it draws 1 or 2, 3 or 4. Like Merlin's pretty good off the gate, like good, but not outstanding for an open class horse. He's not scary. The Aussies tend to have good gate speed, but these three in particular aren't known gate speed horses, the 3 Australians in.
Yeah.
So there's no horse in there who's going to have a domination of the race. Like one of the problems I've had in Australia in the last couple of years is Spirit of St. Louis keeps drawing well and leading races and hands up to whoever he wants. And ironically, he ends up being the horse who dictates what happens in the race. I don't think we have a horse like that in this race. So it's going to be really intriguing. I must admit, almost embarrassed to admit this, I don't know when the barrier draw's being done. I spoke to David Branch, and last time I spoke to him, he didn't tell me when and how it was going to be done. So if it's going to be the Monday, that's Easter Monday, good, out nice and early.
No, that's not Easter Monday, because that's this week.
Oh, so that's Easter. So out Monday's good. That works well for us, Greg. And I believe we've got a preview show
on the Wednesday,
trackside, on
live,
the Wednesday, so
7:30. Yep.
Yep. And then there's going to be a huge big team on track. Yourself and Whale and Matt Cross and Nicole's part of it. And I think Ryan Phelan's coming across from Australia. So really good to have everybody involved in that. And that Australian component's really crucial, because we've got to get Australian eyeballs back on New Zealand harness racing. Yep. And we've got to get our eyeballs back on theirs, because I don't believe either country works well as a singular betting entity for harness racing.
No, I agree with that as well. Let's have a look at a couple of the 2-year-old performances from Friday night. You're the one that I want. Gee, this is a nice filly, isn't it?
It is. The bookies didn't think so much at the start. I can understand why she was longer, because she was drawn poorly, but she was $2.70 into about $1.60, and she was too good. Still a bit sloppy in the gate yet, as you'd expect. She's still learning and heads going up and down, but yeah, she's not going to need to improve much to be a very good filly, Greg, because she went 155 and change for 1700. So another good one for Dean Shannon.
And I think it was only third time off the place. Michael spoke to Scott Phelan about that. Here's Cyclone Geordie, also good in that fillies race, was one and only, and I'm Sandra D. Here's Cyclone Geordie in front, of course trained by Tate Hopkins. Nice effort this. Demon Blue was very good for the All-Stars. A couple of other runs nice just in behind, but this horse did it under its own steam, Michael.
Yeah, they're my favourite win of the weekend. The Frank Cooney colours. Tate and Frank worked together for a very long time. Tate is a lovely guy. He didn't have a great sale at Karaka recently, and they still breed good horses. This one, of course, was bred by the Kyle Mills crew, the boys with Cyclone Kate. Frank's colours, seeing Frank's colours back at the park winning, where he's won races since I've been going there and before I started going there, which has been 35 years. Frank's been a little bit crook recently. He's been a little bit slower than he originally was post that head injury. Champion guy, Frank, if you're watching, mate, I was absolutely stoked, and so were so many other people, to see your colours back out there. So, yep, one of the really good guys in my time in harness racing, Frank Cooney. So that's what put a smile on my face on Friday night.
Yeah, and it did many people, as did this, Michael. I decided to find out from Dean Shannon what is with this Grease theme. Of course, in the boys there, he had I Got Chills and It's Electrifying. I'm not going to burst into song there, Michael. And of course he had I'm Sandra D and You're the One that I Want. And I said, what's going on there? He said, I normally come up with a theme for my yearlings. I decided I'd go with Grease. There's a couple of things about that. I like Grease, and it shows how old I am.
Well, fair to say I'm not going to fall in love with the Grease horses as much as I was an Olivia Newton-John fan, Gregory. But Cold Chisel, I can get right behind that. So the days of the West Coast in the back of the car, the boys driving around, pretending they were cool, listening to Cold Chisel and Jimmy Barnes. Yeah, he's a horse who I don't care how good he is. I'm gonna love him till he retires.
Yeah, well, I just like the idea that he's got a theme behind it, which is fantastic. I said that I'd have or take the opportunity to catch up with Henry Sale, who got a win recently, so I did that at Addington last Friday night. Henry, congratulations. Picked up win number 1 with Ebury Street, and I could see with your salute past the line, it meant a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to get it finally off me back, and I had a bit of stick from a couple of the boys beforehand, before going down, but it was good to finally get it.
Tell us about your background. Why harness racing, and how did you get involved?
Well, originally I was overseas, and couldn't go back over because of COVID, and then I texted me old kindergarten teacher, Jocelyn Cameron, see if she needed some help, and yeah, went down there, helped Dean Cameron and Kyle when I was there for about 4 years.
Yeah, is there any family background at all?
Just my step-grandfather, Stan Moore. He's a bit of a hobby trainer. Had fake chance in the cup, but yeah, came and helped him a few times.
Is that what inspired you to get involved with the fake chance days? Or?
Yeah, I think I just missed it, really.
Yep.
So he had Klaus and bet his chance, so I came in with him and
Yep.
got the bug after that.
Now, what was this trip overseas? What did that entail?
I got a cricket scholarship over England, so I got that through the Willows, and yeah, I was over there for 6 months and really enjoyed it.
All right, let's go back to Ebury Street and that win and that salute to Ronnie Dorr, who your flatmate Tom Bamford trains for, and yeah, it meant a wee bit, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Ronnie and Tom have been really good to me. Kept putting me on Ebury Street, so it's good to finally repay them. She's not the best in the world, but she's we honest, we think, so that's good.
All right, galloping pacemaker, I understand.
Yeah.
Went down there with one of the stable stars, Rakiro Rocket, and got the win. So yeah, pretty cool moment.
Yeah, definitely. Took the team down Ronnie, and they both won on the first day, which is actually more special for Ronnie. He puts a lot into the game, and it's good to see him get the rewards.
All right, what about the future for you? I know you work for David Butt. That'll be an education on its own in the mornings, and then Greg and Nina Hope with a mate of yours being in there as well. Must be pretty cool and busy days.
Yeah, definitely. My ambition is probably to drive a few more winners and that, try to get my name out there. But I'm just, happy ticking along, helping out where I can, and getting me, hands dirty, and yeah, helping out my mates and making friendships along the way.
Well, here's a win that obviously meant a lot. Robbie Close getting win number 500, aboard Tide and Time for Regan Todd, who he's had such a great association with. Yeah, he got pretty happy about this, didn't he? A three-pronged attack in terms of the salute. I know he got told off for that, but he thought, bugger it, I've got to 500. When I started out, that number looked a long, long way off. And yeah, he drives very well. He drives well for Regan. And great to see Tide and Time winning. Of course, part owned by Katie Cox. I actually messaged her the other day to see how she was getting on. She said she's going okay. She's actually jogging a couple of her own horses. So good luck to you, Katie. I know there's plenty of people rooting for you and wanting you to continue on and enjoying the horses which you're doing at the moment. Team Teal, by the way, I see their update. They got close to their $40,000 and 70 odd wins, 72 it might have been for the Team Teal team. Right, let's get into that meeting Michael was talking about earlier, Easter Saturday afternoon on TAB Trackside 2, and the feature is the Fred Shaw New Zealand Trotting Championship. Here is Muscle Mountain winning last time. Michael, he was fresh up since show day in the Dominion. He won this very easily. Importantly, out of this, Oscar Bonavina, he's now in the north, so he's not here for this, but he'll go to that flying mile. His stablemate Midnight Dash, of course, got into second and got himself a slot as a result.
Yeah, and he's got Barrier 1 Muscle Mountain, should either lead or trail Majestic Man, who I would suggest if it got to the lead has to stay there. But of course, into that first bend, they would have the option, Ben Hope, of getting away from behind it if he gets crossed. I'm not saying he will, but if he does. Now, I'd be very tempted if I was Ben Hope to say, nah, let's go out and try and make a statement, a lead in front statement, which could pay you some dividends TAB Trot Night. I'm not saying the horse is ready for that. I don't know the horse. But this might be the time to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's still a slot available for the TAB Trot. And I think Constantinople from New South Wales would get it if he was here, but if he decides not to come, then I think there's a horse in this race, I presume it's in this race, maybe Majestic Man, who could get into that last slot, which was going to be the Bolt for Brilliant slot, but of course he's gone to the paddock. So I think he'll win. Greg is $1.25. I think a lot of people will run their multis through him. The only thing I would say is, because he's had a heart fib and because he's had a couple of weird things happen to him in the last year or two, Greg, I'm not sure I'd take the $1.25, even though he's totally impossible to bet against.
You would think so. He's won this twice and got beaten by Sunday's Sun in the middle. So, yeah, he gets an opportunity for 3 wins in a very, very good race, the Trotting Championship. Here's, speaking of the TAB Trot, let's have a look at a couple of other potentials. Here's Queen Elida, beaten in this by I'm Ready Jet, who won its second Something About Maori, Michael. Queen Elida was fine. Nathan Jack heard an interview post-race with him, and he said basically he had to put the foot down because he knew Queen Elida's best performances aren't when she has to come wide on the track.
And the Widder's a pretty good horse. But yeah, Queen Elida's racing good enough to be in the TAB Trot, and she's racing well enough to be a factor in it. But I think what's happened with Call Me the Breeze, and RC Phoenix and these horses coming through, it's exposed the fact that the trotting races have been really weak in Australia for a long time. They're not now, but you had Just Believe, who was incredibly dominant, and Queen Elida, and this huge gap to the rest, and that gap's been filled by all those other horses. So I think we're seeing now that, you know, it's a lot harder for Queen Elida because Just Believe's still the king. Call Me the Breeze is the second or alongside Just Believe, and a lot of these other horses have emerged who are at least as good as her. So looking forward to having her home, though. She'll be heading to the trot race on April the 8th, then April the 4th, and then, of course, to the TAB Trot. And if she gets a good draw, which she will in the trot race, I'm saying she gets a good draw in the mile, she can be a factor. Of course, in the TAB Trot, Greg, she has to draw Barrier 1. Yeah,
absolutely she does. Here's Constantinople, the other potential horse that could take that slot, and I think it comes down to Phil Williamson's 2 trotters who are coming north for the carnival anyway, but he's come a long way, this horse. I saw him at Albion Park in December, and he was good, but he was excellent here, Michael. 52.9. I know that's reasonably stock standard for the best trotters around Menangle, but you can only win, and he's doing exactly that.
Very strong for the line. He's getting a lot better. Spoke to Luke McCarthy about him. He would absolutely be on a plane if Can't Find a Better Man had got a slot, because he was looking for a slot for him. He will still come if they can work out the right conditions. he's a horse I'd be keen to bring across and maybe leave here through for the week before and through 3 or 4 races, because I don't think Just Believe will stick around. They're still talking about Sweden. I'm not sure he'll go there either, but I'm not sure he'll stick around. And if he doesn't, and Call Me the Breeze doesn't stick around, then Constantinople could pick up some good money along the way. So if I was Luke, I'd bring him, but yeah, Luke's got a lot going on at the moment. There's a lot going on. The farm's a big place there, and it would be probably pretty hard for him to get away for that period of time.
Yeah, $1.85 is the price for the favourite Just Believe. Next line of betting is Call Me the Breeze, Muscle Mountain. I suggested last week, Michael, $1.75 was too short for Just Believe, because you talked about it before and there is only 8 in this trot. But if they drew 7 or 8, and with his lack of gate speed around Cambridge, that's not going to be a whole lot of fun against this deep field.
No, it's not. And if he draws 1, 2 or 3 to lead, well then great. Yeah, absolutely. You'll get $1.40 and maybe $1.30. But he's not an automatic leader under any circumstances. No. So, again, it's hard to make a case to bet against him because he is clearly the best horse. But Call Me the Breeze did come from behind him to beat him in the Great Southern Star. And again, there's some movable parts to this. We know Muscle Mountain has freakish talent. Maybe he's not as well-rounded as the Aussies, but you don't need to be that well-rounded from in front at Cambridge. So, Alex, again, barrier draw is crucial. Lots of cool moving parts. We've got 2 really good races.
Yep, we absolutely have. And don't forget about the Tab sweepstake. Last chance for you this week. It closes, Michael, on the 31st. So this is your opportunity here. You just have to go to the nightofchampions.nz/sweepstake website, get yourself a ticket. We know that it's 50,000 to the winner, and that last year 1 ticket was able to secure that and done. You can pick your own numbers of what is left now, and we wish you all the very best with that. It's a great innovation, great way to get involved, and there's only 2,000 tickets at $100. If you don't want to do that, or you do want to do that, you can also do this. This is the Boys Get Paid Syndicate. That pool has climbed over 20,000 now, as far as I understand, and tickets are getting close to being sold out, so you can get involved in the BGP Night of Champions Punters Club. Good luck to you if you want to do that. It's going to be an awesome night with those guys doing all the betting for you. Catch a Wave is in this week, Michael, along with 888. Catch a Wave, of course, heading to the Nullarbor. Right, we need to do some previewing of Addington, those other races. Let's go to what used to be the Alan Matson. It's the Fahey Fence Hire free-for-all. This horse low flying, Mighty Louis. 222 he went, and he was in front, beats Who's Delight, who probably should have won. The Falcon there, American Me getting home down the outside. Beach Ball, who was taken back at the start, was out of play. But yeah, I think he'll continue on, Mighty Louis. I don't think he'll just be lining up and winning this, Michael, but considering his last win prior to last week was in the Country Club's Championship, he certainly knows when to strike form, and it's right about this time of year.
Yeah, I think he's a horse who likes being driven ugly. I think he's a horse who, while he does have a lot of speed, he likes to just get winded up and just keep being wound up. So I think the interesting horse in the race is Beach Ball. Obviously, Alta Meteor and Ahoka Connor are there as well. Ahoka Connor's got a terrible draw. A lot's going to come down to how serious they want to get with Beach Ball, whether it's time he can be put into the race or whether that's still another run away. But I'm pretty sure he's the best horse in this field.
Yep, $3 for Ahoka Connor is the price. Beach Ball $6, Alta Meteor $5. Who's Delight from the inside. I'm not so sure that that's the right draw for him. He's $6.
I think that's $6 Beach Ball is very fair. I think he was good for.
Well, he's $1.80 last week, Michael. So did he go that bad? He had no chance.
Yeah, and Ahoka Connor has the outside barrier draw, and I don't think he's as good as Beach Ball. Not yet. He might be. But
Beach Ball finished third in the Cup, of course, and the free-for-all.
And third in the free-for-all, and he won the Summer Cup. So, yes, he's absolutely a bet if, and that's an if, and you guys are on track, so you'll better find out if they want to head forward at the start. All
right, let's get into some more preview. Mighty Logan, since joining the Dunn team, he was excellent here, really struck through the line and was able to pick up Aroha Kenny, who was placed again, and the Bloss, who's back in placed form, and what a remarkable horse she's been. The Bloss, she's actually got over 200,000 now, but Mighty Logan's come a wee way, and on this performance, he looks like he can go on with it. Won't be easy this week. He does go back the 20 metres. Off 30 are both Eurostyle and Sunny's Sister. We'll have a look at Sunny's Sister's trial, more with a lean towards the free-for-all. That's her in the 1-1, about to hook out to the outside of last season's 2-year-old of the year, Tyrone Eros, who looked like he's come back pretty strongly. Johnny was doing the driving there in the Baggery colours, but Sunny's Sister strong through the line, 58, home in 29 the last quarter, but did it really nicely for Tim Williams. So if you're confused about that, both Eurostyle and Sunny's Sister were outside the conditions, but were allowed to go on the ballot and have to start in the free-for-all. Here's Jlendi, horse that is absolutely charging at the moment. Have a look at the big bloke for Bob Butt. You see his ears going and he's thinking about it and he's still learning the game, but he's won 3 out of 4 this time in, Michael. He's done it in really good style, and whilst he doesn't beat a whole heap here, he does beat Song Sung Blue, who's no slouch, and he did it home in 57 and 27.
Yeah, pretty good horse. Very likeable horse. And yeah, it's a good race, that last race in the card. I thought Mr. Kaplan was going to be, if anything, improved since it got down south. So here's Helium, Greg. Again, another horse you think is, well, not finished winning yet and has the ability to maintain its sprint for a very long time, Gregory. So look, there's enough on the support card to make it interesting enough, even though I think it's quite a slowish start to the day. But that may not be a disaster, because the first 3 or 4 races were always going to struggle up against the gallops. The domestic gallops will be finished by the time we get into the meat of the program, Greg.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So Helium takes on Pin Seeker, who comes to Addington Raceway for the first time. It's done the majority of its racing down south. Audacity's in there, horse with a really big motor. Beach Flyby, Hay Bartenders, looks like he's getting back to something like his best form. Dashing Major, Double Time, Triple G, all out of the Dunbarn, who at the moment, Michael, are absolutely flying, and they've got pretty close to the Stonewall team in terms of the premiership, and as a result of that, John Dunn is absolutely flying in terms of the drivers' premiership, as is Samantha Otley, who drove 7 winners, including 5 at Reefton, then drove 4 again last week, I think it was, at the Waimate meeting. So yeah, the old premierships early on in the season, Michael, but yeah, there's some good battles going on there.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Wasn't that long ago, I remember writing a column about 5 years ago when people were saying that the Purdens will never be beaten. Purden Rasmussen, it was at the time, never be beaten. Thinking, oh, this is outrageous and I can't race them. And I wrote a column about it, Greg, saying, you know, at one stage the Roman Empire basically ruled the world, and now no one's ever spoken about it for the last 1,000 years, and Rome's a tiny little place in Italy. Nothing ever stays the same. And the Purden Rasmussen stable doesn't exist anymore. Those two people are no longer a couple. And the Purden stable per se won't win the premiership because they don't have that sort of numbers. So it will almost certainly be the Dunn stable or Team Telfer, which again didn't exist back then. It's funny, Greg, how sometimes a bit of perspective goes a very long way. I mean, nothing ever stays the same in any code. So yeah, fascinating to see how that's all changed, and fascinating to see how the markets, which 5 years ago would have had then Mark and Natalie, now Mark and Nathan, $1.10, $1.20 every year. I just think they don't care about the premiership anymore.
No, that's a fair point. Michael, one thing I did like during the week, I saw your little piece on Weigh-In about the best overseas performances by a New Zealand trained horse, and I mean their body of work, their entire overseas campaigns. I reckon we should do it on our show. I know it's copycat, and you probably got the rights to it, and you probably charge me for it.
Mate, look, people's heads work that way all the time. We all create lists of what we like. So let's do it.
Why don't we have our top 5?
Let's do it for next week. Okay.
Yep.
Now, that was based around Imperatrice and her Australian performances, because I think if you based it on New Zealand, we're both close enough to 50.
Yep.
So let's go to...
Close enough.
Let's make it, on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Let's make it 1970. That's fair.
Okay.
I was born a couple of days before that. So how about we go for next week, and anybody watching at home can play along, and you can get hold of us at our email address, or you can get hold of us on Twitter, and give us your list. So what we'll do if we follow the Gallops one is New Zealand trained horses. So it can't be a horse like On the Mighty Quinn who's gone to Gary Hill. They're not eligible. Since 1970, New Zealand trained horses, which makes Lyle Creek eligible for his work in Sweden and half of his American work. New Zealand trained horses on overseas performances. So the 5 best overseas performed horses trained by or in New Zealand since 1970. So that takes Cardigan, Bay, Robin, Dundee, Caduceus. They're all out of play. So forget them. We'll park them to the side. You're thinking, who are we talking about then? Well, we're talking about Young Quinn. Young Quinn's in the game.
Lazarus.
Charlie Hunter took him to North America.
Yep.
Lazarus on his Australian performances.
Yes.
El Sue on his Australian performances. One horse who, I'll give you a little hint here, viewers, this one's going to be on my list. Wouldn't be on a New Zealand list. It'll be on the Aussie list. Pride of Petite was a flying machine.
In Australia. Never won a race at Addington. Still a remarkable.
23 starts.
Unbelievable.
So if you want to play along, have a little think about it. We'll do this next week.
I'll tell you what we'll do, Michael.
Yep.
We'll give it, to the one that we think's the best, we'll give a $100 betting voucher for the Race by Grins night. There you go. All right.
Beautiful.
Just pluck that
$100
out
betting
of nowhere.
voucher, Race by Grins for...
Send them in, boxseatnz
So
at
we're going to do five each, right? Five each, right?
We'll do 5 each.
What's the email address?
Boxseatnz at gmail.com, and no, you can't enter.
Oh, okay. So what we'll do is 5 each best overseas performances by a New Zealand trained horse in our lifetime.
So nobody's wrong, but when we get them, I'll send them through to you. You and I will collectively say, we think that's the closest.
You know, Undercover Lover went to North America and raced when trained in New Zealand?
Anthony Drover.
There's a lot of moving parts to this story.
It's not going to be easy, and
Also,
there's no
don't
wrong
forget
answer,
with
but that doesn't mean everyone gets a $100 bet.
With Pride of Petite, don't ever forget, she qualified for the Elite Lot final in Sweden.
Ooh, Michael. Ooh, the intrigue. The intrigue just continues. All right. That is a competition that we've just plucked out of nowhere during the show. Anyway, I'm sure that our good friend Glenn Bourne will take care of business there. As we go to a break, one thing that does say the same is Take After Me just keeps on winning. What a remarkable horse. The 13-year-old by Holmes Hanover, win number 21 in his career trotting. He has won 17 races and 4 pacing and 280,000. This was him winning again.
Take After Me in front from a legal alien. Brianna's running on okay, but Take After Me will get the prize. Take After Me beats a legal alien.
Always love a good historic Michael. Here was Don't Stop Dreaming, winning a couple of years ago in the hands of Olivia Thornley. Here's Da Vinci down the outside, but just shows you this horse can make a horse, and well, we know what Don't Stop Dreaming's doing now.
Yeah, funny, wasn't it? When these races were on, I wasn't sure quite how good he was, but that's the key to the Betters Delights, Greg. They just keep on getting better and better, and yeah, maybe one of the first good horses Olivia got to drive at the races, and we know how her career went after that as well. So Kindergarten's on this week. Gregory, who will be in it?
Ukraine is the horse we want to have a look at, trained by Bob Butt. Here he was winning on debut. This was at Winton. Consider who he beat here, Michael. Music Mistress has won her 2, including a stakes race next start, so she's very good. Has been to the trials a couple of times since, spoke to Bob Butt. He said tick over trials have been nice. It was only a small field at his last one, but he ripped home in 57 and 27 at Ashburton. He's come up with barrier 2. He's up against Michael. He's $2.40. Always Dreaming, who's that breed we keep talking about. We just watched his brother, Don't Stop Dreaming, winning there. It's $3.50. Rubera, who won on debut, albeit only a 2-horse race at Addington, but it was the second favourite in that. Blair Orange drives for Mark and Nathan. So it's a reasonably deep sort of a field, and a really nice barometer at the early stage of their 2-year-old campaigns. But Ukraine's pretty smart.
Yep, yeah, nice horse. And I had a galloper called Ribera Greg, won the Champagne Stakes at Bukakowie. So
well, there you go.
That's what a black type race. Yep, they. I think the 2-year-old racing's working. I'd like to see slightly bigger fields, but I think it's working early in the season. I'm still not sure we've got the whole seasonal thing right, but I do think that them starting, whether they needed to change the ages, I'm not really sure. But them starting February or March has been good for them because we're seeing far better products now than we were seeing in the pre-Christmas product.
Yep, well there's 8 horses going in the Macca Lodge Kindergarten. Let's have a look at a couple of the other races there on Thursday. Here's the first of them, Fernley Blackbird. Low flying. What Fernley Blackbird does have is very good early speed. It's only 6 going around in the Vet South Southern Bell Series heat. She has been doing a great job, as has Kirsten Green. So expect a big run again. Advanced Party was second on this occasion. Draws to her inside. So 240 Fernley Blackbird, 320 Advanced Party. And then you're out to $5.50 for Take It Out. So that is the 6th on the program. The other feature is one of the Country Cups races. It is the Hunter Family Handicap Pace over the 2,400 metres. Let's have a look at Charlie Brown. Beautifully driven on this occasion by Blair Orange. He gets another opportunity with this horse. Cormac Leo's in it. Tack McLeod. Da Vinci starts off the 30 metres. Check with Craig Ferguson. He was umming and ahhing about coming to Addington, but he absolutely has decided to go here. It won't be easy off the 30 metres alongside Tack McLeod, but Tack McLeod's off the 10 and he's off the 30, so he's got a bit of chasing to do, but we know he's very, very good, Da Vinci, but he'll need to be giving a horse like Charlie Brown, who started in the Derby, a decent start there. Good program, 11 races, first of them right on 12 o'clock. Competition, we've got a new one for you, but here he is. James Beattie is the successful winner of the Night of Champions comp. I've been in contact with him. He's from Ashburton. He can't wait. He's got some small shares in horses. Thank you to Entain, thank you to Cambridge Raceway. It's been well supported, this comp, and congratulations to you, James. Looking forward to confirming all of those details for you. What about the map for this week? Where can you go harness racing? If you see this early enough, you can go to Addington on Wednesday afternoon, 4:15 the start time there, 9 races. We just previewed the Wyndham meeting, 12:35 the first there of, it's actually 12 o'clock now, with 11 of them, $60,000 in that Macca Lodge New Zealand Kindergarten Stakes. Manawatu the second day. Boudica won the first day. Warlock, Bad Medicine. We can't preview that because the fields aren't out, but it'll be a good one Thursday night. There's the Fred Shaw for 110 and the $40,000 Fahey Fence Hire. And Motukarara race on Easter Monday, an 11 race program there, 11:55. Don't forget to get the top performances, your top 5 of New Zealand trained horses overseas. Michael, boxseatnz@gmail.com. If you want to enter that, we'll give away a $100 betting voucher. Michael, big thank you to you for your contribution. Looking forward to the action that lies ahead for us in harness racing in this country, particularly on Saturday at Addington.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild month. Lots coming up, lots of story parts. One thing I'm sure of, Greg, and I don't know why I'm sure of it. I know there'll be a twist in the tail of these 2 races out of Cambridge. I'm not sure where it's coming. I'm not sure who it's going to be. But I know something's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I can feel it in my bones, which makes me sound like a very old person for saying.
Yes, it certainly does, Michael. That's because you are. All right, that leaves us from the show. We'll see you both in 7 days. The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link, for all your worldwide harness racing coverage. Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. IRT, it's your horse and our passion. Garrard's Horse and Hound. Lincoln Farms, Renwick Farms, Harness Racing New Zealand. The clubs, Auckland, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, and the TAB.